Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut through the sheer volume of AI news hitting us every day.
It really is a challenge just keeping up, isn't it? The pace is relentless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's our job here. We sift through it all, the headlines, the research papers, the industry updates.
And pull out what really matters.
Exactly. We want to give you the core developments, the key insights, basically make sense of the noise for you.
And today, there's quite a bit to cover. We're seeing a lot happening with AI agents, how we actually evaluate AI, some pretty striking real-world applications.
And the infrastructure side too, right? Industry moves.
Definitely. Lots of movement there.
Okay, let's jump right into AI agents then. Feels like they're everywhere suddenly, moving beyond just concepts.
Yeah, the integration into, actual business operations is picking up speed. IBM's view is interesting. They see AI becoming fundamental infrastructure.
Like not just an add-on, but core.
Precisely. And agents are being embedded deeper into, the day-to-day workflows.
We also saw Anthropic adding web search to their Claude API. That feels significant.
Oh, absolutely. It lets developers build apps using Claude that have, truly up-to-the-minute information.
Which puts them squarely in the search arena, doesn't it? A potential competitor.
It does. Access to real-time web data is a big deal. And they put a price on it, $10 per 1,000 searches.
Gives a benchmark, I suppose.
Right. And then there's Hugging Face. They put out an experimental open-source agent.
The one that works on your computer. Like OpenAI's operator concept.
Exactly. It uses a web interface, handles basic tasks. It's built on models like QuinnVL, which is interesting because they have that built-in grounding.
Grounding meaning it can, see and interact with things on the screen.
Yeah, essentially. Understand and interact with visual elements, and being open source makes it more accessible.
We're also seeing efforts towards getting these agents to talk to each other, right? Microsoft supporting Google's A2A protocol.
Yes, the agent-to-agent protocol. Microsoft's backing it in Azure AI Foundry and Copilot Studio. It signals a move towards interoperability.
Which seems pretty necessary if these things are going to work together across different companies and platforms.
Vital, really. You need common standards for communication. This A2A support is a step in that direction.
SAS also made an announcement at their Innovate event. Agents with built-in guardrails.
Yes, specifically designed for controlled automation. Think finance, healthcare sectors where you need tight control.
So the focus there is very much on safety and responsibility.
Absolutely. Integrating governance right from the start, especially in those high-stakes industries.
And just looking around, like on the AI agents subreddit.
Yeah. What's the chatter there?
Lots of practical interest. People looking for agents to do marketing, SEO, customer service, but also wanting more complex real-world workflows, not just simple tasks.
That makes sense. The demand is clearly there for agents that can handle, sophisticated business processes.
Okay, so if agents are getting more capable and integrated, evaluating them becomes even more critical.
Exactly. The focus is shifting. It's not just about throwing resources at building AI anymore. It's about rigorous evaluation to make sure it's actually ready for production.
It's a mindset shift almost.
It really is. One source used this great analogy. Gen AI is dragon.
Meaning powerful but hard to control.
Precisely. You can't just unleash it. Achieving consistently great results, not just okay ones, requires really disciplined evaluation.
And part of that discipline is asking the right questions before you even start testing.
Yes, that was a key point. Asking things like, what am I really trying to test here? How might my assumptions be wrong? What result would actually make me change my decision?
It sounds more like scientific reasoning than typical software testing.
It is, in a way. It's about forming hypotheses and designing tests to genuinely validate or refute them, less about just checking boxes.
I also thought it was interesting advice to be cautious about jumping onto the newest evaluation tools immediately.
Right. The point was that masterful evaluation isn't necessarily about the fanciest tools. You can do a lot with basic things, like REST APIs and even Excel.
So the principles matter more than the specific tech.
Fundamentally, yes. Understand what you need to measure and why before getting caught up in the tooling.
Though new tools are emerging, Amazon Bedrock launched custom metrics for evaluating generative AI.
Yeah, that extends the LLM as a judge idea. It lets businesses tailor evaluations much more specifically to their own needs and KPIs.
More fine-grained control.
Exactly. And on the model development side, NVIDIA open-sourced their open code reasoning models.
The OCR ones. I saw they reportedly outperform OpenAI's models on some coding benchmarks.
That's the claim specifically on Live Code Bench for code reasoning. Releasing those under Apache 2.0 is a pretty big contribution to the open source community.
Definitely fuels more development. And then there's Festino.
Ah, yes, the $17.5 million funding round.
Their approach is interesting, training small, task-specific models.
On cheap gaming GPUs, no less.
Right. It's sort of counter to the trend of ever larger models. Focuses on efficiency, cost.
Could open up AI for use cases where massive models are just overkill or too expensive.
There were also a couple of research mentions, Lorsa, that sparse attention mechanism.
Fudan University, yeah. Trying to better understand the building blocks of attention in transformers.
And the SWE agent release, hitting a new state-of-the-art for coding agents using synthetic data.
These advancements just keep pushing things forward, both in capability and our understanding of how these things actually work.
Which brings us to some real-world applications and, well, the ethical side of things. Some of these are quite striking.
Like the AI-generated video of the deceased victim in Arizona.
Yeah, used as a victim impact statement in court, addressing the killer. That might be a first.
Wow, that raises a lot of questions. Digital resurrection representing someone after death. The ethical implications are huge.
Definitely. And speaking of sensitive areas, there were warnings from UK experts about AI therapy chatbots.
Right, the concern being they cannot provide nuance.
And could potentially give dangerous advice, which contrasts sharply with, say, Mark Zuckerberg's view that AI could fill therapy gaps.
It really highlights that tension, doesn't it? The potential benefits versus the very real risks in areas like mental health, where empathy and nuanced understanding are so critical.
Then there was the point about modern AI potentially cracking the Enigma code.
Just as an illustration of capability, yeah. Shows how far computational power and algorithms have come since World War II. It's almost unimaginable.
And data privacy remains a huge topic. Concerns were raised about an AI trained on millions of NHS medical records.
Understandably, using sensitive health data at that scale demands extreme care regarding privacy and security. It's a constant balancing act.
We also saw that report about an SEO expert.
Ugh, the one boasting about flooding social media.
Yeah, using AI-generated content specifically to trick older women, apparently.
That's just deeply concerning. A clear example of potential misuse for deceptive purposes.
And NBC planning to use AI to clone the voice of the late NBA narrator, Jim Fagan.
Another one raising ethical flags. Recreating voices of the deceased for new content. Where do you draw the line? What are the implications for actors, for legacies?
Lots to think about there. Okay, shifting gears slightly to industry developments in infrastructure. OpenAI launched a data residency program in Asia.
Right, for their enterprise, eDO, and API offerings. This follows the one they set up in Europe.
Seems like a necessary step to meet local data sovereignty rules.
Absolutely. If you want broad enterprise adoption globally, you have to address those regional data requirements.
SAS popped up again, this time partnering with Intel.
Yeah, looking to redefine AI architecture. The focus seems to be on optimized intelligence that goes beyond just a GPU-first approach.
So exploring different kinds of hardware optimizations.
Seems like it, acknowledging that different AI tasks might need different kinds of processing power.
SAS is also working with Epic Games. That sounds unexpected.
Bringing gaming tech into digital twins. Imagine using game engine technology to build incredibly detailed virtual models for, say, manufacturing simulations.
So really high-fidelity virtual testing grounds.
That seems to be the idea. And IBM made some noise, too.
The Linux ONI 5 mainframe.
Yep, positioning it as a super secure, high-performance platform for AI inference. They threw out a huge number for daily operations capacity.
Along with updates to their Watson X platform.
Right, focusing on enterprise deployment, getting practical AI working, and showing a return on investment. Very business-focused.
Funding news, too. Toloka AI BV.
The AI dataset provider, yeah. They secured a $72 million investment led by Bezos Expeditions.
Shows the continued massive value placed on high-quality data for training AI.
Absolutely essential fuel for the fire. Mistral AI also launched new offerings.
Medium 3 and LeChat Enterprise, targeting the enterprise space again.
Yep, competition heating up there for sure.
And a couple of quick hits. Apple's Eddie Q hinted at AI search possibly coming to Safari.
Interesting, especially with the mention that Google queries might be falling, a potential shift in the search landscape.
Maybe. And he also mused about the iPhone possibly being obsolete in 10 years, which is always a fun thought experiment.
Keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
And finally, Reddit CEO Steve Huffman said they'll look into third-party services to verify user humanity.
That follows that unauthorized AI persuasion experiment someone ran, trying to combat bots and AI manipulation.
A growing challenge for online platforms.
Okay, so that's a lot for one day. Let's try to quickly recap.
We saw major strides in AI agents, getting more practical, more integrated into businesses.
A real focus on the need for rigorous AI evaluation, treating it more like a science.
Some really thought-provoking and sometimes concerning real-world applications and ethical questions popping up.
And significant moves in industry infrastructure, partnerships, and funding across the board.
It really shows how dynamic and fast-moving this whole field is right now.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering everything we've just discussed, especially the rapid progress with AI agents, what single capability do you think will make the biggest difference to our daily lives in, say, the next year?
That's a tough one. A lot of potential directions there. Definitely something to ponder as we watch this space evolve.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into today's AI news.